Welcome to the first half of our body systems discussion. In this unit, we will be learning about the different body systems and how they work together to maintain homeostasis in the body. In order to understand the systems better, let's first review the levels of organization. The levels of organization from smallest to largest are cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and organism. So a group of cells that perform a single function are what we call a tissue. There's actually four basic types of tissue in the body. First, we have epithelial tissue. These are glands and tissues that cover inner and outer body surfaces like the skin. Second, we have connective tissue. This is the type of tissue that provides support for the body and helps to connect different parts together, like bones and cartilage. Third, we have nervous tissue. This kind of tissue transmits or sends nerve signals. Fourth, we have muscular tissue. This is what we use to move. As we move further into the notes, here are some important vocabulary words to remember. So we've already discussed what a vertebrate is. This is something having vertebrae, so having a backbone or a spinal column. So obviously something that does not have that is an invertebrate. So when referring to an organism, we can either classify them as an endotherm, so they're endothermic, or an exothermic. So an endotherm is an organism that is dependent on or capable of the internal generation of heat, so they can regulate their own body temperature. An exotherm is an animal whose regulation of their body temperature depends on their outward environment, so they kind of mimic what their outward environment is like. Our main focus in this unit is not only to examine the different body systems, but really to investigate into how they interact with each other to maintain homeostasis in the body. Remember, homo means same, so homeostasis is the ability of an organism to keep an internal balance. It's able to stay the same, despite changes in the external environment. Think about how when you get really hot, you start to sweat, right? Why is that? Well, that's your body's way of helping you cool down. You wouldn't want to overheat. Just like when your body temperature drops, you start to shiver. This is the body's way of creating warmth by shaking the skeletal muscles. The sweating and the shivering, these are all cool things that our bodies do on a daily basis, but what's actually happening deep inside our bodies to make those things happen? Well, there's a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. Everyone say hypothalamus. This specific part of the brain is the control center for maintaining homeostasis. In order to do this, the body relies on a feedback system. There are negative and positive feedback systems. Here's a general look at them. A negative feedback system produces a response that is the opposite of the stimulus. This keeps the body in balance. Underline the word balance. So a good example is what we talked about earlier, the sweating and the shivering. The body's trying to maintain the normal body temperature of about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. A positive feedback system, on the other hand, overproduces a response to a stimulus, so it amplifies a response. This is like when your body produces an unusual amount of adrenaline when you get scared. So remember, a negative feedback system counteracts any change in the body that has moved the body out of its normal set points. Negative feedback helps to maintain homeostasis. Think about how a thermostat works. Let's say you set the thermostat at 70 degrees in your house. If the house starts to warm up due to heat outside, the control mechanism in the thermostat will send a signal that turns on the air until the temperature goes back to 70 again. If the house drops below 70, the heater will turn on until the house warms up to that set 70 degrees. In some cases, the body needs change to get a certain task done. Positive feedback uses information from sensors to increase the rate of change away from set points. So basically, balance is thrown out of the window in this feedback loop. If you cut your finger, positive feedback mechanisms increase the rate of change in clotting factors in the blood until the wound is sealed, so this prevents you from bleeding out excessively. Here's another great example of positive feedback. During childbirth, the pressure of the baby's head against receptors in the uterus stimulates contractions. A chemical, oxytocin, gets released, which in turn causes more contractions. These amplified contractions are examples of an increased response. Remember, positive feedback increases change away from a set point. Thermoregulation is the process that allows the body to maintain its core internal temperature. All thermoregulation mechanisms are designed to return the body to homeostasis. Sometimes homeostasis is disrupted in the body. This can happen for several reasons. When sensors don't detect changes in the environment, or the wrong messages are sent, when viruses and bacteria change the body's internal chemistry, all these things are harmful to the body and can result in a chain reaction that ends up affecting other organs and organ systems. These effects can either be short-term or long-term. Short-term effects can last a few days or weeks. A good example is when the cold virus enters the body. In this case, your immune system may not be able to prevent the virus from multiplying. This causes you to possibly develop a sore throat, runny nose, a cough, fever. But after a few days or weeks, though, your body is able to get rid of that virus and restore homeostasis. Some effects of disruption of homeostasis are long-lasting. These are especially bad. An example of this is diabetes. Diabetes occurs when the body fails to control the amount of glucose in the blood. Glucose levels in your body are controlled by two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Both of these hormones are released by your pancreas. When glucose levels in the blood rise above a set point, the beta cells in the pancreas release insulin. When glucose falls below a set point, alpha cells in the pancreas release glucagon, which stimulates the liver to break down stored glycogen into glucose and release it into the bloodstream until homeostasis is reached. Now that we've talked about how the body generally maintains homeostasis, let's examine the body systems. First, we'll look at the skeletal and muscular system. The skeletal system is composed of the 206 bones in your body. The purpose of this system is to provide protection for the organs and to support the body. It works with the muscular system to produce movement. It's kind of like a tree trunk. Just like the trunk of a tree helps the tree to stay upright, our skeletal system allows us to stand upright. The place where two bones meet are called joints. At these joints, we have cartilage that acts as a cushion for the bones. Connective tissue called ligaments holds the bones together. Our bones also play a huge role in the synthesis of red and white blood cells. Even though our bones allow for movement, we wouldn't be able to move at all without the muscular system. Your body has over 600 muscles. These muscles are specialized for contraction, which is the tightening of a muscle. The main types of muscle are smooth muscle, which are found in the organs and blood vessels. These muscles are under involuntary control. We have cardiac muscle, which is only found in the heart, and skeletal muscle, which is attached to bones by tendons. These muscles are controlled by the central nervous system, which we'll talk about later. Let's look at how our muscles work. Your muscles receive a nerve impulse, which causes them to contract. They are attached to bones in opposing pairs. The flexor muscles cause a joint to bend. Extensor muscles cause a joint to straighten back out. Now let's look at the circulatory and respiratory system. The respiratory system is responsible for the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen between the blood, air, and the tissues. This system includes the nose, mouth, trachea, and lungs. The diaphragm, which is a large and strong muscle that divides our chest and abdomen, causes our lungs to expand. The purpose of the respiratory system is to bring in oxygen and to release waste, especially carbon dioxide. Without it, our cells wouldn't get the oxygen they need to burn carbohydrates for energy. When you need more energy, you breathe harder and faster to bring in more oxygen. This system consists of the heart, the arteries, veins, and capillaries. The circulatory system is similar to the xylem and phloem of a tree trunk. These structures perform transportation of food and water in a plant. We'll learn more about these in our next unit, plants. Here's something cool about our circulatory system. It's double looping. That means one loop carries oxygenated blood to the body, the other loop carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs to get oxygen once again. So basically, the main purpose of the circulatory system is to move the blood around the body. It does this to take nutrients and oxygen to the cells and to also carry waste away from the cells. This is a really cool picture of what our circulatory system looks like. You can see all the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. We've talked about how our circulatory system helps to transport blood around the body. Your blood consists of your red blood cells. These carry oxygen. Your white blood cells, which aid in fighting pathogens. These are a part of the immune system. And another component of the blood are your platelets. These aid in blood clotting. So remember, the trunk of a tree carries out functions that are really similar to the functions performed by the skeletal and circulatory systems. These two systems respond to changes in altitude. At higher altitudes, the air that organisms are breathing in is really thin. Therefore, there's less oxygen moving throughout the body. Because of this, the organism produces more red blood cells to carry oxygen quickly throughout the body. So today, the last thing we're going to talk about is the reproductive system. The whole purpose of sexual reproduction is for genetic variation. Remember, our sex cells, our gametes, undergo meiosis to reduce the number of chromosomes by half. This way, both parents are able to contribute part of their genetic material to their offspring. The main purpose of our reproductive system is to produce sex cells to create children. When a male gamete and a female gamete, so a sperm and an egg, combine, a zygote, what we call a fertilized cell, is formed. This system consists of the female and male genitals and also hormone glands. Well, that wraps up our discussion for now. The next time we meet, we'll be talking first about the nervous and the endocrine system. See you then!